Uh, so the grind. Let's talk about the grind. When I hear of something grinding, it does not bring to mind a good thing. It brings to mind something's wrong. And I saw this. Somebody shared this little quote, this little meme thing. I think I saw it 2 days ago. It said, "Invest in your dreams, grind now, shine later." It sounds flowery. It's supposed to be inspirational, and I think I know what they mean by the grind. Um, and it's something that Cliff and I have talked about. Cliff and I spend a lot of time, traveling and playing shows, and the most recent trips, there's been like 3 or 4 trips where our discussions start and we end up talking about this grind. Most of you guys know that Cliff Miller is really into hunting and that whole scene, which I have no knowledge of whatsoever. But he was talking about, there's another friend of his who's very successful in this hunting world, and everybody has their spot they go out in the wilderness, or I'm just trying to regurgitate some of the language I've heard about hunting. And this guy is just always talking about, it's just the grind. You just got to keep grinding. You got to keep, you got to keep grinding. Like suffering is a badge of honor, or something like that. It wasn't long ago we had one of our brake calipers on our car wasn't working correctly, and so it wore the brakes out really fast on the right front wheel. And as we would drive around and try to stop, you would hear this horrible grinding noise. Not only was that, like, the frequency of that for my ears was pretty abrasive, but the whole car would kind of shake and try to pull to one side or something. And so that grind wasn't good. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, how is saying that you're grinding a good thing? It sounds terrible. So I was just writing, like, grinding sounds terrible, miserable, maybe a reason to give up because you've just been grinding. I'm just going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep pounding my head against this concrete wall until I finally break through. And I don't think you're ever going to get through the concrete wall, and you're just going to have you're going to mess up your face. And so I don't think that grinding is a good thing. But I also wrote out, like, grinding, does that lead to burnout? Like, I just keep grinding. And, grinding to me means there's no results. It's just like, keep just doing this thing, and hoping that one day I'm going to have a breakthrough. And I would say that I used to be part of that process of grinding away at something and expecting something to change. And when I finally realized I needed to get advice and help from somebody who was already where I was trying to be, to pull me out of that rut to where I wasn't grinding, like I mentioned, I think it was last week when I talked about, life, family, and music being a very selfish thing and all of those things. But, I spent so long, I had this goal or an idea of what I wanted to do, but I had no plan on how to get there. Just like kind of just shooting darts in the dark, never really hitting the target. So once I got connected to somebody that could say, okay, you got to make a plan, who I trusted, and that's when I felt like I wasn't grinding. It felt like, oh, now the wheels are moving free. Sorry, I've got this like thing in my throat that's Doesn't sound like my vocals are grinding. The producers here, grinding your teeth is bad. They will break. Yeah. And Greg says grind culture is one of the supreme forms of toxic positivity. Wow, that's pretty powerful, Greg. You're 100% right. The grind culture, yeah. This, like I started to say, I think that leads to burnout and, thinking, well, maybe this time, I'll just keep pursuing that, burn out and quit. That metal on metal, abrasive, discouraging, something, just forcing something to happen. A lot of times if you're forcing something, it's going to break or it's going to be misshapen, those kind of, pounding a square peg into a round hole or vice versa, just does not sound like a good thing. And then, like that thing said, invest in your dreams, grind now, shine later. I don't think that's how it works. There's always going to be the next step. There's always going to be the next thing that needs to be done. There's always, as you progress, I think things get easier to some degree. Like you figured out how to get this thing to work over here, and so now you just got to maintain that or just keep building on that work. But for me, like the grind is as simple as making a phone call or sending an email, and getting in touch with somebody. I don't know if Chip Ritter is still watching or not, but all you drummers out there, there is a Facebook page called the Drummers Education Connection. And they do a Facebook Live. It might be connected to their YouTube page. I don't remember, but a lot of great information in that group. They do their live thing is at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. Which is 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I think that they must be, is it Pacific or Central? Whatever's an hour ahead of us. I think it's Central. Not Pacific. Pacific would be California. No, Pacific is California. They're an hour behind us, right? Yeah, if it's noon here, it's 11 o'clock. Is that right? I don't know. I'm digging myself a hole. But Bart Robley is one of those guys that's in part of that group, and Bart was doing these Facebook Lives because he was traveling with his band, and he was giving like hints to drummers on what you can do from the road. And a lot of the things that he's saying is geared towards people who might just have started touring or traveling or playing shows. And, here's some things to look out for or to do when you're on the road. And one thing that he was doing from the road was teaching from the road. And so that sparked something in me to want to reach out to Bart Robley and get more information. And so I commented on his video, that, hey, I would love to get some more information about what you're doing, and can we connect? And so he said, yeah, absolutely. So I sent him a private message, friended him on Facebook, set up a time where we could have an actual phone conversation, and, we spent an hour and a half on the phone talking, and not just talking, like, getting to know each other kind of conversation. And it was really great. And then that conversation led to, hey, we should do a Zoom thing so I could show you what my setup is for teaching online from his studio, which I had attempted to teach online in the past, and it worked, but it wasn't great. So Bart was able to help me, line me out on what I needed. And so that's like, just making those connections and being confident enough or brave enough to go, hey, I'm just going to comment on this guy's video, and what's he going to say? No? If he said no, fine. But, I just was presenting myself from a genuine place and wanted to connect because, all of all of us go through a lot of the same stuff, life stuff, work stuff. My work happens to be music, but I don't consider it a grind. I made a plan on what I wanted to do and did, and now it's like, I wanted to make teaching my full-time job. I didn't look at it as like, oh, this is a grind. I had a plan, and that plan came to fruition. And it wasn't like, okay, now I have enough students, I can just do this full time. I'm maintaining that, maintaining the students I have, and then, putting it out there that, I can take more students and all of those kind of things. But I don't look at it as like a grind. That whole language to me is just ridiculous to, let's take, what are some jobs out there that you might think, oh, that's a grind. So I used to own a landscaping business, and there were definite days that I was grinding, for sure. Like, almost, and those moments I felt like I was in a sea of helplessness. Like, I'm behind financially, I'm beating my body into the ground, I've made a commitment to this person to finish this project, I'm at work by 6:30 in the morning, I'm not getting home until 10 o'clock at night, if not later sometimes. And that was a grind. That was miserable. That was like, I gotta fulfill this commitment. I gotta work these long hours to get caught up. And I just was miserable. And I wasn't proud to walk around and say, yeah, I was just grinding. I'm gonna keep this up for years, and then I'm gonna shine later. No, it was just so awfully miserable. And so that, to me was the grind. And, it wasn't always that way. I had great days when I would go and do a job, and everything was working right, and it was fun. It was hard work. I don't want to dismiss that whatsoever. It was hard, dirty, filthy, sweaty, stinky. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where I've been sweating all day, and I'm on my 3rd gallon of water, and it's 113 degrees outside, and I'm cutting pavers and building somebody's patio. I could do that with a smile on my face, but when my customer would be approaching me, I'd be like, okay, you're gonna want to be downwind from what's happening here. But I'm just thinking about Cliff's hunting buddy and talking about the grind. Well, man, is it a grind if it's something that you love that much? Tom Keithley is here. Wake and destroy. Yeah. Sounds like new Metallica lyrics. Wake and destroy. Mary, slay the day. Let's catch up here real quick. When I see Tom Keithley pop on, I just light up. I light up. Let's see this, because I love trying to keep up with these comments here. Grinding your teeth, blah, 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 Mary. To me, the daily grind is synonymous with the rat race. Yeah, it's almost like you're doing the same thing in and out, and there's like that feeling of there's no escape. I'm just trapped in this loop, and I can't get out. And that's why making a plan of moving forward is better than just stuck in that circle. Excuse me, that grind. I always end up with the hiccups. Had a negative connotation, yeah. Anthony, the grind is a perspective, and it defined differently for each other. Yes, that is true too. Greg, I gotta see if Seymour is gonna work. I think I should probably watch a YouTube tutorial on, gosh, I really want to see it. Sometimes the grind happens unintentionally when I was trying to keep my large facilities open. Yeah, I'll have to read what more that says. Wake and destroy. Slay the day. Yeah, I made a commitment to doing this coffee with Fred, and I was doing it weekly. I started this last November because I had been doing a drum cover every week and releasing that on Thursday. Mary's parents, dad and stepmom, who live in South Carolina, had some sudden health crisis, and so she needed to go be with them last November. So she was gone, I think not quite 5 weeks, just over a month, probably like 4.5 weeks, something of that nature. I don't remember for sure, but that stopped us from doing drum covers because she does the recording process for me and the editing of the video and all that. So I started doing this as a way to keep momentum happening, and but then when we got started with drum covers again, I didn't want to do a coffee show and a video on the same day, so I moved it to Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And then I had people who would join me and say, "Oh, I would watch this live if you did it early in the morning before I went to work." So then I made a big commitment to start it at 7 a.m. and but I don't call it it's not, I got to get up at 6 and get ready to do coffee. This is like something I love and it's fun to do. But I don't think of it as the grind, The grind just sounds terrible. I don't know how many other ways I could say it. But that's the nuts and bolts of it. So promoting the grind is like, that the end of that saying, like, grind now, shine later. There's still work to be done, as you achieve these little steps. I have a lot that I'm still wanting and trying to achieve personally, with my music goals. And some people who are closer in my circle know exactly what those things are, and they're people I trust and who give me great information on how I could proceed and maybe tweak my process of what I'm doing, and people who feel comfortable recommending me for things, so it's keeping those relations going is a really important and great thing. So, but I don't look at it as a grind necessarily. So, Greg, you always got great stuff. So, Mary's correcting me as usual. 4 weeks she was gone. Yeah. When your wife is gone for 4 weeks, you notice. Great show, Fred. Keep it up. Catch you next week. Thanks, buddy. Greg, what doesn't kill you just wears you down. Oh, Scott's here. There's certainly things in the music biz which is busy work or doesn't want to do the grind. Yeah. Scott, my see more thing on my phone is not cooperating, so I might have to catch more of what you're saying. I struggle with this. My apologies. Yes, good morning to you too. Scott, I'm pretty sure you're not the coffee drinker, so what energy drink do you have? Yeah, I know that. I'm pretty sure that you've got it. Speaking of energy drinks, Mary got turned on to the Celsius energy drinks, and I think because she can't do coffee anymore, and C4, I knew it. I know you so well. Stan says you should invite your beautiful bride to be on your show every now and then. Yes, Stan. Yes, thank you. Because part of what I want to do is have guests on here, and some of my thoughts are random as I do this, and I'm kind of all over the map, and then sometimes I feel like I kind of regurgitate the same thing over and over and over, and within the same 20 minutes. But having guests on would be great. Scott's here. I've thought about having Scott on and some of my other friends. But yeah, I think, encourage Mary to join me on one of these, because she too is a full-time musician, and she's had to put up with me. And that could be some great conversation. I think people appreciate Mary more than she realizes. So that would be good. Yeah. Stan, nudge her. Her comment's right above yours.